In a world where education is key, finding the right math program for your kids is crucial. And that's where CTC Math steps in. This isn't just another math program, it's a comprehensive math curriculum covering everything from K to 12. What sets it apart? The video tutorials. They're not just educational, they're engaging, breaking down complex topics into bite-sized, understandable pieces. It's like having a math expert in your home, available anytime. And it's not about memorizing facts. It's about truly understanding math concepts, the kind of understanding that sticks with them, not just until the next test, but for life. Plus, the flexibility is unbeatable. Whether you're homeschooling or supplementing after-school learning, CTC Math fits into your schedule, not the other way around. Why not take the leap? Visit ctcmath.com today and start your free trial. Discover how a comprehensive curriculum can challenge your child's perspective on math. It's time to give them the tools they need to succeed. That's ctcmath.com.
If you're looking for Homeschool Sanity, welcome. I'm Dr. Melanie Wilson, Christian psychologist turned homeschool mom and curriculum author. But I was once so disorganized, I thought I had to quit homeschooling and stop having kids. Now, by the grace of God, I have 6 homeschool graduates. Whether we're discussing parenting, productivity, or practical tips, I pray that this episode is just what you need for happy, healthy homeschooling. Thank you to Now Programs for sponsoring this episode of the Homeschool Sanity Show. Hey, homeschoolers, you can homeschool apart from a community, but why would you want to? Although online communities have helped connect homeschoolers around the world, most of us desire a local community. Local communities can answer our questions about activities and services, and they provide a source of friendships for us and our kids. My guest today is Morgan Bergstrom, founder of Base Camp Ed, a new app that is helping homeschool parents make connections in their area. We have an interesting discussion of how community building has changed in homeschooling and how families like yours can connect today, even if you aren't an extrovert. Here's our chat. Morgan, thank you so much for joining me here on the Homeschool Sanity Show. I have been excited to talk with you about building homeschool community. I just asked my followers on Instagram what other things they would add to a list of tasks to begin homeschooling, and finding a homeschool community was a top suggestion. It is very, very important, and I completely agree. But before we dive into that topic today, I would love to have you tell us more about you and your family.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And by the way, I feel like I already know you because I listen to your podcast.
Oh,
I follow you on Instagram. So
oh,
I really appreciate you having me here. Like, I'm truly honored. But
oh.
yes, I am first and foremost a mom to 3 very young boys. So they're 1, 3, and 4. So we haven't even gotten to like the formal homeschooling yet, right? Like,
Mhm.
but I am probably one of the parents that would say building community is my number one. And that truly is kind of what had me start Basecamp in the first place, was wanting to find that community too and not really seeing it for myself. So I
Mhm.
basically wanted to create something that I wanted, which is to find community. We move around for my husband's job every couple of years. So every few years, I'm finding those 2 or 3 moms that like are very tight knit with me. So that's kind of like what really stemmed from wanting to start it in the first place.
Okay, wonderful. So, why did you choose homeschooling as the way that you want to educate your kids?
That is a great question because neither my husband or I were. We went to traditional schools our whole life.
Hmm.
And then I remember like the day that I brought up, like, I think I want to homeschool. I thought like my parents and his parents were going to be like, what? Why? They were like immediately so supportive. And I was like, okay, I know that it's going to be the right fit for our family. But just so many reasons. We move around so much that to give them some sort of stability, at least in the schooling, and not, having to like readjust every 2 to 3 years was one of the top things for us. There's so little right now, but I can already see their unique personalities. And I love how homeschooling can really, tailor and be personalized to each of my boys. Um, I love that it's so flexible. Like we live on the East Coast right now for work. My parents and his parents are on the West Coast. So like right now, while they're not in real school, I go home for a month and I stay with my parents for 2 weeks and his parents for 2 weeks. Like you would never be able to get to do those
Hmm.
cool things when they get older. I want them to find something that they're truly passionate about, and school is all
Hmm.
day, like you don't have time to
Hmm.
do what you love to do. I mean, I grew up
Mm.
dancing. I was like very into dancing. I danced probably 4 or 5 hours Monday through Friday after school. I never saw my parents. I went to school all day,
Mm.
danced 3 to 8 p.m., got home, ate dinner, whatever homework I could, or, it was just a
Hmm.
crazy lifestyle that if they find something they truly love, we could do it at 10 a.m., like that's
Hmm.
awesome. So, I mean, I
Yes.
know I just listed like so many reasons, but that's kind of the decision that we are making for our family. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Well, it's honestly one of my favorite questions to ask guests because I have heard such a variety of reasons. And I think even for those of us who have homeschooled for a very long time, it's always wonderful to get a reminder of why we have chosen this path. And of course, as everyone knows who's listened to this podcast, I believe that it is so worth it. It's wonderful. And I think it is fantastic that you evaluated your own education and your own upbringing and then factored in your current lifestyle of traveling and moving around to determine that homeschooling was a good fit for you. So I think that's fantastic.
and I love that
Okay,
there's
so yeah.
podcasts and platforms
Yeah.
because I am no like expert, right? Like I haven't even really formally started. So today there are so many
Mhm.
resources. Like I can't imagine how hard it was like back, even 20 years ago, like we have so much help and resources
Mhm.
now today to
Yes.
make it a lot easier on us as
Right.
moms.
For sure. And, I would say I started homeschooling probably more than 25 years ago when I was in your place and I had just a preschooler. But we actually had quite a few resources, but I always think back to people who were homeschooling in the 80s when everyone thought that should be illegal or maybe it even was.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah, it was a much different endeavor, that is for sure.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so speaking of how homeschooling has changed, the last I heard, they believe that there are 3 million homeschoolers in the country. And when I started homeschooling, they weren't really sure. And of course, they still aren't very
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
exactly how many homeschoolers there are. But 20 some years ago, they thought it was between 1 and 2 million.
Hmm.
So there has been dramatic growth in homeschooling for a variety of reasons that we all know. We don't need to review. um, but why do you think, even though there are more homeschoolers than ever, why do you think it is a challenge for homeschoolers to build community still?
Yeah. Well, I think the two reasons that I kind of listed before, which are either A, families that do move around every so often. I mean, I think it's like nearly 20% of families move each summer. And that could be just down the road or to a new state.
Hmm.
but it's about like 16 to 20 depending on the year. Also, because there are so many new homeschoolers each summer, they start to enter, and that's the first thing is like, I need to find my people, and if
Mm-hmm.
you have a church that you go to, you have that solid community, but then like expand out of that. Or if you go to that same park that's down the road, we have like the most amazing park 1 mile away that I always go to. And then I literally one day was like, I'm going to change it up. And went 3 miles away to a totally different park and literally met like my best mom friend there. Right. And so I was like, I went to the same park
Wow.
every day, saw the same people. And that one day that I like switched it up on the parks, that's so close too. It's like, so, you start to get into your own daily routines of church and park and what you do that like, I feel like there's like that one kind of more like push or step that like kind of is what the whole premise of why I wanted to start base camp was like, I just want to find that
Mm-hmm.
person that you might never cross paths with otherwise.
Right. And, as you were talking about church, it got me thinking about how the analogy I think here is apt. You can join a huge church, a very large church, and have trouble making connections, building close relationships because it's so big.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and so maybe that is what is happening in the homeschool community at large, is that it has become so large that we have to be more savvy and intentional about building relationships and to find our own community, if you will, within that larger homeschool environment. So,
I am not the
yeah.
most like I am not the most social, like in person. Like it's really hard for me to just go up to a mom and be like, oh my gosh, you have two boys. Like that's just not me. Like I
Hmm.
can't like, but I feel like if I had a little bit more like confidence, like, oh, I found this, this mom. We have the same age children. Like let's meet at the park. Like
Hmm.
I feel like I have a little bit more confidence. Like literally there was one day that I met that mom and I was like, I came home and I told my husband, he's like, did you get her number? And I was like, no, I didn't want to be weird. And then like I saw her again and finally did. But like, you don't want to be like the weird mom that's like, so, not all moms also in person are like when you first meet, or maybe you have three little kids that are running around and like pulling on your dress and you're just trying to like keep them in line, so
Hmm.
it is hard sometimes in person to form that kind of connection.
Yes. And one thing that I noticed, because I started homeschooling before everyone had a smartphone, well before that. And then I was still homeschooling after everyone had a smartphone. And in the pre-smartphone days, I could go to a homeschool gymnastics class. And all of the moms, and there were a few dads there too, but we would all start talking and we would say, oh, yeah, I have this many kids. I've been homeschooling this long. This is where I live. But after smartphones, with my youngest kids in activities, everyone was staring at their
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
And so I am like you. I am actually an extrovert, and I feel very comfortable talking and sharing, and I'm not shy that way, but I don't like to like interrupt somebody if they're putting off the vibe, like I don't want to talk, I'm
Yeah.
just doing my phone. And so it creates that like barrier, right?
Hmm.
To building relationships, to building a community that wasn't there before. It's more challenging today, I think.
Yeah.
So
And like
yeah.
to be on the positive, it could be
Hmm.
that, hopefully they're not just scrolling Instagram, but that they're like a lot of moms and dads are probably working. Like that's their 1 hour while their children are busy, that they're like, okay, I'm going to do heads down I have 1 hour to get this email that I needed to get out. Or like, you never know. Hopefully that's what they're doing. I mean, I do
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
their times have changed in terms of people working remote and, so
Hmm.
you never know what they're doing on the other side. I only say that because I might be that mom sometime. That's like, it's my one
Well,
hour to like check email on my phone.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. And I am not judging because
Yeah.
I am that mom too. I am
Yeah.
that mom too who is on my phone doing various things. But I am interested to know what are your recommendations for homeschoolers? And I'm specifically talking to moms right now. What are some ways that we can build community that can work for some of us anyway?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it comes to me, I before starting Basecamp and even, the day before we launched in the App Store, I was working my old job
Mhm.
and always knew that I wanted to homeschool and wanted to work. And it's obviously hard. And so for me, finding that right community was finding a couple of families that are maybe in our same shoes that care and want to homeschool, but maybe both parents do need to work.
Mhm.
And basically, like, join almost like a family co-op. Like, yeah, you could do more formal co-ops and enrichment programs once or twice a week, but I'm talking about like finding people that like we do it together. Like we do group learning. Like Mondays, the kids, let's come have them come to my house and you get your day and kind of like share the duties of homeschooling with a couple different families. And I know especially during COVID that I think they called them like cul-de-sac co-ops or whatever, but like to basically like doing that so you can really have both. That to me is like what community means and kind of what I hope and like hope to hear success stories of from Basecamp is like finding those people that and they don't have to be the same aged kids. Like that truly is what's so cool about homeschooling is like, my 4 year old could be hanging out with that 7 year old that's teaching him things. And like, I want that for them.
Well, I love that recommendation because that is honestly how I started. I was in a homeschool PE class. I had some acquaintances. They were not what I would consider to be friends, but I talked to them about doing a small co-op with just it was at the beginning it was four of us families. And so we chose to meet once a week in a church. That was before we moved it to my home. I think we moved it to my home when one of the women moved out of state. And then we started meeting in my home. I was the one who was still having babies and had nap schedules and all of that. But that was brilliant. And homeschooling has really gotten away from that kind of model, and it's really
Why do you
done
think
more
that?
of
I'm
a
just curious.
well, I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because um, there is a lot of anxiety in homeschooling parents about their kids making friends. And I completely
Hmm.
understand that. I had anxiety about that. um, and
See,
so
that's like
I think
when
that,
I see that about socialization, I'm like, that is the last thing that I'm worried about. Because
yeah,
if they're not in
yeah,
school, we're going to be doing things every day. We're going to be like actually
right,
getting out,
right. Yeah, I wouldn't call it socialization as much as a fear. My child isn't going to have a good friend that
Mm,
they can invite to their birthday party, that they can hang with on the weekends and just do fun things with,
yeah.
because we assume that kids build those kinds of friendships in school. So if they're not in school, what are they going to do? And so I think then that parents think, well, I'm going to go with the odds. If I put my child in a large learning center in a formal co op that's a drop off with, 100 kids there, then it's more likely that they're going to make friends. And if I choose to do, just meet with a few other families, I mean, maybe my child isn't going to click with those
Mm,
kids.
yeah.
Maybe the odds are just not in our favor. And I think that is what's happening. But I speak on this very topic that it requires, in order for our kids to develop close friendships, it requires more than just a lot of kids to be in an
Yeah.
environment. And I'm not going to go into all of that, but I think that is why homeschoolers have shifted away from that model that you're talking about. And so I'm just thrilled to hear you mentioning it, because there's no reason that we can't go back to that. To say, hey, I met a couple of homeschool moms, and yes, maybe now their kids are in these large group activities or co-ops or learning centers, but they could pull their kids out of that or do a community co-op with a few other families in addition to what they're doing. And it could really be a great blessing for all of us.
Yeah. I mean, and true, like, I guess I didn't think about it as the way of like the actual, because my kids are so young. I'm like, you're hanging out with this person. Like, I call the shots right now. That like, I thought more of it as like, my husband is the biggest nerd when it comes to history. And like, I grew up hating history, and I still to this day, like, don't like, I know that when I'm teaching our boys history, like, we're learning together. Like, I vividly remember like high school, the history teacher putting stuff on a board and being like, all right, guys, if you write what's on the board in your notes, you guys get to talk for the rest of the class. Like, that was literally history class. And so when I think of like how fun it could be that like my husband could have like the kids at our house, and we do he is in charge of history once a week or whatever, like finding families that like truly love what they're good and smart, and maybe the dad down the street is an accountant and does math with the kids. Like, I want them to learn from other people besides me too, right? Like, and people that are truly like love it.
That is such a great point. And I think in more recent years, people have thought, well, yes, I want my child to learn some of these topics that I'm not passionate about, and I am not as excited about learning it, so I can teach it to my kids. So what I'll do is I will take them to a learning center, or I will enroll them in an online course. And there is nothing wrong with doing either of those things. It's just that there is another option, which is to do more of this community home-based co-op type of teaching as well, where you give other adults a chance to help teach the kids. So I love that we're discussing that as another option. Okay, so what I really want to do now is shift gears a little bit. You have been mentioning your app, Basecamped. Can you tell me a little bit more than you already have? What motivated you to create that app?
Yes. So I literally, when I told my parents the night that I wanted to homeschool our kids. And at that point, I think I had all three, but one had just been born, and I was like home on maternity leave. And I said that. And then my dad, who I thought they would have been like, that's weird. Like, you went to normal school. Why do you want to do that? But they were like so supportive. And that night, my dad was like, do you remember so-and-so? And it's like an old family friend that I've known since I was 4. And I'm like, yeah, why? And he's like, during COVID, we're all from California, by the way. They're like, during COVID just decided to leave. And they went to Hawaii, rural, like middle of nowhere. And he basically told me the story of like, how this family found 4 families that the parents were working, but it was COVID, so everyone was home. And they started, they were in rural Maui, like, no middle of nowhere Maui. And they just started a family co-op with like 4 other families. They're only responsible once a week for all of the kids. And then they travel around. And I was like, literally, that was the night that I went into bed and I was like, we need to do this. Like, how do families find that, right? Like, maybe if you're in rural Maui, it's a little bit easier. It's a small town, everyone knows each other. It's COVID, everyone's stuck at home. But like, how do we do that everywhere is basically like the conversation that we had. And like, it was that night that I was like, I want every parent to be able to, like, basically a Zillow, like, pull up a map, zoom in, like who's in my area, like what do we have here? um, because like, and even me, like in my zip code, I'm like starting to like, it's such a new app, right? So there's not a lot of people in my area yet, but I'm starting to be like, I didn't even know that person existed and they live 1 mile away from me. Like I've never seen them,
Wow.
So like it's cool that was kind of what like inspired it and prompted was that
Hmm.
story of like,
Hmm.
okay, I can work and I can homeschool and I want to do both, like
Hmm.
I want, like, that's what I want for our family.
Hmm. Okay. Well, tell me more then how the app works. So walk us through the process of signing up and what we're going to find on the app.
Yeah, so right now it is only in the App Store. I've gotten a lot of requests already to move it to a web-based platform. And
Hmm.
I do think that's a really great idea. I mean, and there's a lot of people that don't want to sit on their phone, and similar to what we were just
Mhm.
talking about. But basically now you download the app and you create a profile. You answer a few simple questions about your family, like how many children you have. Obviously, it's still social media, so only upload pictures you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable sharing pictures
Mhm.
of your children, don't. We don't ask for, the app does not do any geo location tracking. So you
Okay.
really only
Okay.
put in your zip code. And another reason why I did
Okay.
that was because, for example, a family like me, I might live in Virginia, but I might want to change my profile. And so, like, geolocation would say I'm in Virginia, but I might want to change my profile and
Mm.
say, okay, well, I visit my parents in San Diego for a month. Like, is there people I could be meeting? Or, so you could easily change your zip code based off of, like, maybe nomadic families that move around.
Mhm.
But anyway, so once you create and answer a few questions, it like auto populates right into your area on a map. And from there,
Okay.
it's not just for parents. We want to kind of like open this platform up to teachers and coaches can also create profiles, list credentials, certificates. So, a parent could, if they needed supplement for math, or even like a music teacher. Like we're still so small right now, but I hope that, it gets to the level of like actually being resourceful to find people in your area. And then coming very, very soon will be a business platform where the businesses will have to apply to be listed in Basecamp, but similar if it's a local business. These co-ops, enrichment programs, farm schools, nature schools, museums, like anything, will pop up on the map as well. So it truly is obviously to build community with other parents, but I don't want to limit it, especially like to just homeschool, right? Like, or maybe a homeschool curious mom might want to jump on it and they can still find after school activities and things like that.
Okay. Okay. Very, very neat. So, do you have any other, I mean, you've already told me, your future plans and how you can expand this, but do you have any other plans for the future about how you might help kids get connected, for example?
Yeah, I do foresee that this in the future will stay a parental support
Okay.
network.
Okay.
Yes,
Got
that's
you.
a really good question and point, though. Do you feel like it could move to more of a homeschool children connecting with other homeschool children?
Well, probably not directly because I
Okay.
I don't see a homeschooling parent being comfortable with that. However, um, this is what I was really asking about. So let's say I have, which I did, I have boys who love to play tennis. Are there any other
Yes.
families in the area
Yes.
who would be interested in, you know, having like formal or informal tennis time
Yeah.
with my kids?
So there's two
That
ways.
kind of thing.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yes.
So I thought you meant kids creating profiles. I was like, oh, I don't know if I would do
No,
that.
no, 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 no.
Okay,
No.
yes. So when you're creating your profile, you pick extracurriculars your children are into. So
Okay.
if you want to filter families, based off of age of children or what you're interested in. And I tried to list as many things I could think of in the app, right? Like I even went like to horseback riding or like, like,
Okay.
but you can also type in other. So then similar to like a LinkedIn or a Facebook, up in the little magnifying glass, you could literally type the word tennis. So if a mom either selected tennis or maybe wrote it in her like bio, like my children love and are like, great at playing tennis, we're looking for other people, anybody that had tennis in their profile would pop up as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm surprised that I didn't ask you this yet, but I, of course, need to know, is there a fee? Is this,
Oh yeah, great question.
Okay. Okay.
So it's totally free for parents. And I go back and forth in the future what I want to do, because I do want it to always be either free or very, very low cost, because most homeschooling families are either single income or work part-time. And I want it to open it up to every single parent that wants to be in it. However, I do, like not to compare it to like a dating site, but like if you think of the difference between like free Tinder and somebody that pays a little bit for Match.com, like the quality might be better if it is like a low fee. If you're paying for Basecamp, you might actually be checking your app and you might actually be responding. You might not just download it and never open it again, right? You have more of like a reason because you paid for it to open it. Right now we're so new that I'm like, I just want to get as many people as I can in. So I don't know what the
For
model
sure.
will be for parents
In the future.
in the
Yeah.
future. And it's free right now for teachers and coaches as well, but they obviously, hopefully, will be finding business and services like using Basecamp that like I intend for them to be the ones paying to have a profile and businesses to be listing. That's how like Basecamp intends to, that's our business model.
Okay. Well, that sounds fair to me.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. Okay. So it's base camped with ED at the end, correct?
Yes. Yes. And so many people say Basecamp Ed. And I'm like, should I just change the name to Basecamp Ed? That's how, like, because when you look at it, that's what you think. Yeah, it is base camped, like past tense, but
Yes.
I don't know if maybe my husband and I should rebrand. It's still early enough.
Do base camp ed. Yeah. I mean, that would work. But that is what people will search for on the App Store, correct?
Yes. Basecamp ED. Yeah.
Okay. And so we know where to find the app. Now, how can people connect with you online?
Yeah, so I'm very active on Instagram. I'm the one that's like running the show on Instagram. But also just through the email is me. I am a one-man show right now. So
Okay.
on email, it's me. If you have questions, or I've gotten so many requests for things within the app to change or be different. And I truly appreciate all of the feedback. And so yeah, Instagram, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, TikTok. I'm trying to like be the social media butterfly, but I'm still learning as I go too.
I can relate to that. Now, I can't believe I haven't asked you this yet, but I do just want to at least end by asking you this. How many users do you have so far, or how many downloads have you had?
Yeah. So we launched exactly 2.5 months ago, and we have 2,000 families.
Wow.
So
I think that's very impressive.
Small. Is that impressive? Okay, thank you.
I think so.
I'm
Yes.
obsessed. I literally like refresh like every hour of the day. But right now it's been a lot of word of mouth. I wanted to, like, it's just me. I have 3 little ones, and I wanted to be at a lot of the conferences, because I feel like that's truly where I can like get in front of families. We had a lot of like personal things happening this summer that like I decided to just do like I'd pay to have an ad in a program or do something like that at almost about 40 homeschool conferences across the United States. And there's probably been about 15 or 20 so far, and I don't see the like return. So next year, I really need to like I obviously can't be at all of them, but I am truly going to probably start hiring almost like base camp ambassadors to be at all of these events and like, meet the families face to face and tell them what the app is about next summer. Because it's without being at the events, it's not really doing the trick. So
yes,
yeah,
for sure. Well, I am hopeful that our listeners will check it out. And if you like it, which I'm sure you will, to spread the word. Post about it on social media. You can use one of Morgan's posts on the Basecamped account on Instagram or Facebook and share it with other homeschoolers that you know, because the more people who begin using it, the better the app will function for everyone. So, well, Morgan, this was really a treat. It was a treat to get to know you and to learn more about Basecamped and your passion for it, your motivation for it, and also your hopes for it to serve homeschoolers.
Thank you. And like I said, I really appreciate that you had me. Like, I feel like you always have your experts of homeschooling on, and then there's me that's like, I don't know, I've never done it before. But thanks for having me. I truly appreciate it.
To find the direct link to Basecamp Ed and to Morgan's social media accounts, visit the show notes page at homeschoolsanity.com/community. Have a happy homeschool week. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. I hope something you heard was encouraging. If you have a personal question to follow up, don't hesitate to message me. I'm at Homeschool Sanity on social media. Be sure to check my free resource page at homeschoolsanity.com/resource and find sanity-saving curriculum at funtolearnbooks.com. This has been a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.